Welcome to our deep dive in the world of Sherlock Holmes.
Yes.
You've given us quite a collection of excerpts
Yeah.
from Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's Adventures of Sherlock Holmes.
Mm-hmm.
And we're ready to unlock some secrets together.
Absolutely.
Just picture it.
Yeah.
Victorian England, gaslight, illuminating the cobbled streets, handsome cabs rattling by.
Mm.
And right in the middle of all of it, a mind as sharp as a tack,
Yeah.
dissecting the mysteries of London. We're going to follow Holmes as he cracks these cases,
Right.
uncovering hidden clues and understanding how his methods work.
Nah.
Maybe we'll even tap into our own inner detective along the way.
What I think is really intriguing is that these stories aren't just about solving crimes.
Oh, absolutely.
They're like a window into Victorian society.
Yeah.
Reflecting its anxieties.
Yeah, definitely.
And the very fabric of life in that era.
Yeah, they give us these glimpses into,
It's like stepping back in time.
yeah, like a time capsule.
Yeah. And speaking of stepping back in time.
Let's start with the man himself, Sherlock Holmes.
All right.
In A Scandal in Bohemia, he's described as aloof, brilliant with a mind like a razor,
Mm-hmm.
but there's also a hint of vulnerability when it comes to Irene Adler.
Oh, yeah.
What do you make of that?
Well, that's the beauty of Holmes, right?
Well,
He's
everything.
often seen as this purely logical machine,
Right.
but this vulnerability adds a layer of complexity.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder, can logic and emotion truly be separated? Or are they kind of intertwined in even the most brilliant minds?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And speaking of complexity,
Okay.
let's not forget about those quirky habits of his.
Oh, yeah.
Cocaine used the tobacco, those swings between intense energy and days of lethargy.
Yes.
Almost like he's a human pendulum.
It's true. Those details aren't just there for color.
Okay.
They really paint a picture of a man driven by this intense curiosity,
Uh-huh.
but also burdened by the weight of his intellect.
Yeah.
It makes him more relatable, don't you think?
Absolutely. It humanizes him. Okay, so we've got a sense of the man.
All right.
But how about those legendary methods of his?
Yeah. How does
Again, in A Scandal in Bohemia, we see Holmes deduce Watson's muddy shoes
Right.
and recent travels just by looking at him.
Amazing.
How is that even possible?
That's his famous science of deduction in action.
Oh,
It might sound like magic, but it's really about meticulous observation and a vast knowledge base. He sees the type of mud the wearer on the shoes and instantly connects those observations
yeah.
to his mental encyclopedia of mud types and travel routes.
Wow.
It's like he has the ultimate search engine in his head.
That's wild. So it's not just about being a good observer.
Nope.
It's about connecting those observations to a deep well of knowledge.
Exactly.
That's fascinating.
Right.
But enough theory. Let's dive into some actual cases.
Okay, let's do it.
What would be a good one to start with?
Let's go with the Boscombe Valley Mystery.
Okay.
It's a classic whodunit set in the countryside, full of false accusations. Yeah.
And of course, Holmes brilliantly using seemingly insignificant clues
Right?
like footprints and, yep, you guessed it, tobacco ash.
Wait, tobacco ash again? It seems like that comes up a lot.
It does. And that's a clue for us, isn't it? It shows us that what might seem trivial to us
Okay.
can be a goldmine of information
Yeah.
for someone who knows how to look.
Uh-huh.
Think about it. What seemingly insignificant details in your daily life might hold hidden stories?
Wow, you're right. That's a great way to apply this to our own lives.
Exactly.
But back to the case, wasn't there also a dramatic confrontation where Holmes forces a confession from the dying John Turner?
Exactly. And that scene isn't just about drama.
Yeah.
It shows us something crucial about Holmes.
Oh, okay.
He's willing to manipulate a situation
Uh-huh.
to use the fact that Turner is dying to elicit the truth.
Yeah.
It raises an interesting ethical question.
Mm.
Does the end always justify the means?
That's a tough one. It seems like Holmes often operates in those gray areas of morality.
Yeah, he does. He's not just a detective. He's almost a dispenser of justice,
Right.
even if that justice bends the rules sometimes.
He's definitely not afraid to push the boundaries.
And that's part of what makes him such a compelling character.
Oh, for sure.
He challenges our assumptions about right and wrong.
Uh-huh.
He's not a traditional hero. He's something much more complex.
Absolutely. Definitely. And speaking of challenging assumptions,
Okay.
let's move on to The Adventure of the Blue Carbuncle.
All right.
A stolen gem, a chase through London, and then surprisingly, Holmes lets the culprit writer go free.
He does. Why would he do that?
This is where Holmes's compassion comes into play.
Okay.
He sees the desperation that led to the theft and chooses mercy over strict adherence to the law.
Interesting.
It shows us he's not just a cold, calculating machine. He's capable of empathy and understanding.
So he's not just about logic. He also considers the human element, the context of the crime.
Exactly.
That's a good reminder for us all, isn't it?
I think so.
There's always more to the story than meets the eye.
Absolutely. Now, are you ready for a truly shocking case?
Bring it on. I'm hooked.
All right, then let's talk about the man with the twisted lip.
Yeah.
Imagine the surprise when it's revealed that Neville St. Clair is living a double life as a beggar.
Wow.
The details that give him away, the flesh-colored plaster, the peculiar motive, it's brilliant.
Wait, so he's choosing to be a beggar. What's the motive there?
That's the twist. He's actually making more money as a beggar than in his respectable profession.
Wow.
It exposes the stark reality of poverty in Victorian London and the lengths people would go to survive. It also shows Holmes's ability to see through facades, to understand that even the most obvious truth might be a clever disguise.
It makes you wonder how many people were walking around with secret lives, hidden identities.
Right.
It's a theme that seems to run through many of these stories, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. And it speaks to the anxieties of the Victorian era.
Okay.
Rapid social change, shifting class structures, the influx of new wealth and ideas.
Yeah.
It's a world where appearances are everything.
Right.
And Holmes is the one who can peel back those layers to reveal the truth beneath.
Okay, you've piqued my curiosity.
Yeah.
What other secrets and hidden identities are we going to uncover?
Well, if we're talking anxieties and hidden identities, the 5 Orange Pips takes us down a very dark path. The KKK, the chain of deaths, that unsettling image of the Lone Star sinking with those murderers still on board.
Yeah.
It's enough to send shivers down your spine.
It's like a ghost story wrapped up in a detective tale. And those orange pips, those warnings of impending doom.
Right.
So chilling. It makes you realize even in civilized London, there were shadows hiding terrible secrets.
Speaking of shadows and secrets, have you ever heard of a league exclusively for redheads?
A League for Redheads.
Yeah.
Sounds strange.
Exactly. It's from the Red-Headed League, and it starts with this bizarre premise, but ultimately unveils a criminal conspiracy targeting a bank.
Hold on. They hired a man just because he had red hair to distract him while they dug a tunnel into a bank?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It sounds ridiculous until you realize how easily we can be manipulated by our own desires. In this case, the desire for easy money blinded the victim to the true motives at play.
It's a good reminder to always look beyond the surface, right? Don't be fooled by appearances.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Remember Neville St. Clair disguising himself as a beggar in The Man with the Twisted Lip?
Oh, yeah.
He reminds us appearances can be deceiving.
Yeah. Thinking about all these disguises and secrets leads us to another case. The Adventure of the Beryl Coronet.
Okay.
A missing coronet. A family torn apart by suspicion.
Right.
And a surprising culprit. It's like a Victorian soap opera with a dash of brilliance.
It really dives into family dynamics and the weight of legacy.
Yeah.
Doyle keeps you guessing until the very end with the bent poker, the missing Mary, and then the revelation of Sir George Burnwell's involvement.
Wow.
It's a story of betrayal and desperation that could happen in any era.
You're right. It feels timeless.
Yeah.
It's a reminder that even those we're closest to can keep secrets, and those secrets can have huge consequences.
Speaking of secrets and consequences, The Adventure of the Copper Beeches takes us into a whole other level of unsettling. There's this strange atmosphere surrounding the inhabitants of the mansion, that locked room mystery.
It's giving me chills just thinking about it.
Yeah, right. Doyle really builds suspense, crafting this atmosphere of claustrophobia and dread.
Yeah.
With the locked room, the mysterious daughter, the terrifying encounter with the Mastiff.
It's almost like a precursor to the horror stories we know and love today.
Yeah, it has those elements for sure.
But The Copper Beeches isn't just about chills and thrills.
No.
It also offers commentary on the treatment of women in Victorian society.
It does.
Miss Hunter is isolated, controlled, essentially imprisoned.
Exactly.
That's so disturbing. It highlights how social expectations and power imbalances could be used to manipulate and exploit people, especially women.
Yeah, it's a really important point.
Sadly, that kind of exploitation can happen in any time period. But even in the darkest cases, Holmes is always there unraveling the knots, exposing the truth, and ensuring justice prevails.
That's right. He never gives up.
He's like a champion of reason, battling chaos and deceit with his intellect and his relentless pursuit of the truth.
He embodies that desire we all have for order and justice in a world that can often feel chaotic and unfair.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is why Sherlock Holmes continues to fascinate us.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here. As we move towards wrapping up our deep dive into these cases, what's your biggest takeaway so far?
For me, it's realizing the truth is rarely simple or straightforward. It often hides beneath layers of deception, misdirection, and social facades. Holmes's brilliance lies not just in his observation skills, but in his willingness to question assumptions and see things from different angles. He teaches us even the most mundane details can hold clues, and the path to understanding is often found in unexpected places.
It's like he's constantly peeling back layers of an onion, with every case revealing more complexity with each layer.
That's a great analogy.
And it's not just about solving crimes. It's about understanding human nature, our motivations, weaknesses, and secrets.
Right.
The things that drive us to do both extraordinary and terrible things.
And those are the stories that resonate, don't they? They remind us everyone has a story, a hidden depth that goes beyond the surface. Holmes sees those depths and connects seemingly random pieces of information. That's what makes him such a compelling figure.
Here's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
These cases taken together show us Holmes's incredible range.
Yeah, they do.
He's not just a detective, he's a protector of the innocent, a decoder of secrets, sometimes even a dispenser of unconventional justice.
And it's that willingness to operate outside the confines of the law that makes him so fascinating and perhaps even a little controversial. He forces us to confront those gray areas of morality where the lines between right and wrong aren't always so clear.
Yeah, it makes you think, doesn't it?
It does.
About what justice really means. And he's not your typical hero, that's for sure.
Not at all.
He's complex, flawed even, but
right.
driven by this deep sense of justice, even if it means bending the rules sometimes.
Yeah, he operates in that gray area.
He does. And that complexity is precisely what makes these stories so timeless.
I think so.
They offer us this glimpse into the human condition, our struggles, our triumphs, and the mysteries that lie at the heart of who we are.
It's what makes her human, right?
It is. So as we wrap up our deep dive into the world of Sherlock Holmes,
Okay.
I have to ask you, what stands out to you the most from these cases?
Oh, that's a tough one. There's so much to unpack.
I know it.
I think for me,
Yeah.
it's the realization that every detail matters.
Okay.
Holmes teaches us to pay attention, to look for those seemingly insignificant clues
Yeah.
that others might overlook.
Yeah.
He shows us that with careful observation and a bit of knowledge, we can unravel even the most complex mysteries.
You know, it's funny you should say that.
Really?
I was just thinking about how these stories, while set in Victorian England, still feel relevant today.
Oh, absolutely.
We're bombarded with information, now more than ever.
Yeah, information overload.
And it's easy to feel overwhelmed.
It is.
But maybe Holmes's methods
Yeah,
offer a way to navigate this world of information overload.
I think so.
Maybe we can all learn to be a little bit more observant,
Yeah.
a little bit more discerning, a little bit more like Sherlock Holmes.
I absolutely agree. And to add to that,
Yeah.
I'd encourage you to think about this.
Okay.
What if you were presented with a mysterious snippet from a Sherlock Holmes case?
Wow.
What would you look for?
Yeah.
How would you apply your own deduction skills?
Ooh, that's a great challenge.
Yeah,
It could be anything, right?
it could.
A seemingly insignificant detail in your everyday life,
Mm-hmm.
a pattern you've never noticed before,
Right.
or a connection that suddenly makes everything click into place.
It's all around us.
Yeah. The world, just like those Victorian streets, is full of hidden clues waiting to be discovered.
Precisely. So keep your eyes open, your mind sharp, and who knows, you might just surprise yourself with your own powers of deduction.
That's a great note to end on. Thanks for joining me on this deep dive into the world of Sherlock Holmes. It's been an absolute pleasure exploring these stories with you.
The pleasure was all mine. And to you, dear listener, happy detecting.